Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the idea of change, thinking it's too big to tackle? What if I told you the secret to transformation is in the smallest, easiest actions you can start today? Change often feels like an overwhelming mountain to climb, a daunting task that demands a monumental effort. Whether it's breaking a bad habit, adopting a healthier lifestyle, or striving for a personal goal, we often perceive transformation as a dramatic leap, a complete overhaul of our lives. Yet, true and lasting change rarely happens this way. More often than not, it is the small, consistent actions that pave the way for profound transformation. The power of starting small lies not only in its simplicity but in its ability to fundamentally shift our relationship with growth, perseverance, and self-discovery. Psychologists have spent decades studying how habits form and why massive changes are so difficult to sustain. At the heart of this research lies a profound realization: small actions build momentum. When a task feels manageable, when it's as simple as flossing one tooth or writing a single sentence, it's far easier to overcome the inertia of inaction. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg has emphasized this in his work on habit formation. He argues that lasting change doesn't rely on willpower or motivation, both of which are notoriously fleeting. Instead, it comes from making the process so easy that success becomes inevitable. This approach neutralizes the resistance we often feel when faced with daunting tasks. The failure of big, ambitious goals is not a reflection of laziness or lack of discipline, but rather a cognitive bias known as the planning fallacy. We tend to underestimate the time, effort, and obstacles involved in achieving large-scale goals. For instance, someone who has been sedentary for years might decide to start running 5 miles a day or working out for an hour every morning. While their intention is admirable, the gap between their current reality and this ambitious new standard often feels insurmountable. This leads to procrastination, discouragement, or eventual burnout. Starting small, on the other hand, bridges this gap. A 5-minute walk or a set of 10 jumping jacks feels achievable, even on the toughest days. These small wins accumulate, building confidence and creating a foundation for sustained change. This idea isn't new. Throughout history, philosophers and thinkers have recognized the importance of incremental growth. In Taoism, the Tao Te Ching reminds us that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This timeless wisdom speaks to the essence of starting small, focusing on the immediate step in front of us rather than the daunting magnitude of the entire journey. Similarly, Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius emphasized daily progress and the importance of aligning actions with values. For the Stoics, transformation was not about grand gestures but about small, consistent efforts that accumulate over time. They understood that great achievements are not the result of sudden leaps, but of steady, deliberate practice. Modern neuroscience offers further validation for this approach. Habits, which form the backbone of behavior change, are governed by a neurological process called the habit loop. This loop consists of 3 elements: the cue, the routine, and the reward. By starting small, we make it easier to establish these loops in the brain. A cue as simple as placing a book on your pillow can trigger the routine of reading a page before bed. The reward might be the satisfaction of having followed through on your intention. Over time, these small actions rewire the brain, making the habit automatic and freeing up mental energy for other pursuits. Neuroscience also highlights the compounding effect of habits, how small, consistent actions build upon one another to produce exponential results. This compounding effect is a game changer. In his book Atomic Habits, James Clear illustrates this principle with the idea of being 1% better every day. While a 1% improvement might seem trivial, its cumulative impact over time is staggering. If you improve by just 1% each day, you'll be 37 times better after a year. This principle applies to every area of life, from fitness to relationships to personal growth. The small actions we take today, no matter how insignificant they may seem, can lead to extraordinary outcomes when compounded over time. However, even small steps require overcoming resistance. Resistance, as Stephen Pressfield describes in The War of Art, is a universal force that opposes growth and creativity. It whispers that the task is too hard, the timing isn't right, or that failure is inevitable. Resistance feeds on inertia, keeping us trapped in cycles of inaction. The best way to overcome it, Pressfield argues, is to take action, no matter how small. Writing a single sentence might not seem like much, but it disrupts resistance and creates momentum. Once the first step is taken, the next one feels easier. Starting small is not just a strategy for habit formation, it's a mindset. It teaches us to value progress over perfection and to trust the process of incremental growth. Each small action reinforces a new identity. James Clear highlights this in Atomic Habits, explaining that every action we take is a vote for the type of person we want to become. Writing for 5 minutes every day casts votes for the identity of a writer. Going for a short walk casts votes for the identity of someone who values health and fitness. Over time, these votes accumulate, and the new identity becomes part of who we are. The power of starting small is particularly evident when we're unsure of our direction. Often, we resist change because we don't know where to begin or what we truly want. By focusing on small, intentional actions, we gain clarity. A person considering a career change might start by dedicating 10 minutes a day to exploring new skills or researching potential paths. These small actions not only reduce the overwhelm of big decisions, but also create opportunities for self-discovery. The ripple effect of small steps is transformative. What begins as a tiny action often leads to a series of positive changes that extend far beyond the original goal. For example, someone who starts with a habit of drinking a glass of water in the morning might find that this small ritual leads to improved hydration, better energy levels, and ultimately, a healthier lifestyle. These interconnected benefits create a feedback loop of motivation and success. The concept of starting small can also be understood through the lens of self-compassion. Self-compassion, as developed by psychologist Kristin Neff, emphasizes treating oneself with kindness, understanding, and patience. It is rooted in the belief that we are all imperfect, and the journey of self-improvement should not be a battle against ourselves. When we start small, we reduce the pressure to be perfect and create a nurturing environment for growth. Each small step is an act of self-compassion, acknowledging that we are doing our best and that every effort counts. Ultimately, starting small aligns with a deeper truth about growth and transformation. It's not about the destination but the journey. By focusing on what we can do today, no matter how small, we build resilience, cultivate self-awareness, and create a sense of agency. Change becomes less about reaching a specific endpoint and more about embracing a process of continual evolution. This approach also fosters an important mindset shift, one that emphasizes the process over the outcome. In modern society, we are often conditioned to value results, to measure success in tangible milestones. However, this focus on results can cause us to miss the beauty and significance of the incremental steps along the way. The idea of starting small allows us to honor the journey, even when the destination feels far off or unclear. Each small step is not merely a means to an end, but a part of the greater story of who we are becoming. In addition, starting small helps us navigate setbacks. Change is rarely linear, and progress often comes with its share of challenges and obstacles. However, when we begin with small, achievable steps, we make setbacks easier to handle. A small setback, such as missing a day of exercise or eating an unhealthy meal, doesn't derail the entire process. It's simply one bump in the road. By treating these setbacks with acceptance rather than frustration, we maintain momentum. Starting small allows us to recover quickly and continue moving forward without feeling defeated. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the enormity of a goal or stuck in the inertia of inaction, remember that the path to change begins with a single, small step. It might be as simple as setting an alarm 5 minutes earlier, writing a single line in a journal, or taking a deep breath before responding to a stressful situation. These actions may seem insignificant, but they hold the power to transform your life. The journey is not about perfection or instant results. It's about showing up, starting small, and trusting that these tiny steps will lead to something far greater than you could have imagined. Moreover, starting small fosters a sense of personal agency. It empowers us to take control of our lives in a manageable way. Often, when faced with larger goals, we feel powerless or overwhelmed by the sheer scale of what's required. Starting small, however, makes change feel within reach. It builds a sense of autonomy and reinforces the idea that we are the architects of our lives. Each small step is a choice, one that reflects our values, our priorities, and our commitment to personal growth. Through these choices, we reclaim the power to shape our own destinies. As we continue on the path of self-improvement, it's important to remember that the true power of small steps lies in their ability to create lasting change. They not only transform our habits, but also our sense of self. Over time, these small actions become a part of who we are, integrated into our daily routines, our mindsets, and our identities. Starting small is not a sign of weakness or a lack of ambition. Rather, it is a strategic approach to building lasting habits that reflect our deepest desires and values. The power of starting small is the power to transform our lives, one simple action at a time. So, when you feel daunted by the challenges ahead, remind yourself that even the longest journey begins with a single step. Whether it's a step toward better health, greater creativity, or a more fulfilling life, the key is to take that first step, no matter how small. From there, each subsequent step builds upon the last, creating a path of transformation that is not only achievable but sustainable.